faraway south region of the country, where a few hours ago a Nigerian Air Force MI-35P helicopter crashed in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. The incident occurred at the Airforce Base at about 7:45 a.m. shortly after the aircraft took off for an anti-crude oil theft operation in Rivers State. Fortunately, all 5 crew members survived the crash with minor injuries and are currently being treated at the Nigerian Air Force Medical Centre in Port Harcourt. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hasan Abubakar, is expected to arrive Port Harcourt to assess the situation. He will also visit the crew and give further directives. This is the second accident affecting the 115 Special Operations Group in Port Harcourt in recent times. Barely 4 months ago, 4 Air Force personnel died when their Mi-171 helicopter, which is based in Port Harcourt, crashed during an anti-terror operation. TVC News is still monitoring this development story, and we will bring you an update as soon as we have them. Let's go back to our top story now, where we had reported earlier that in Rivers State, that's in Port Harcourt, the state capital, a Nigerian Air Force helicopter crashed in Port Harcourt, that's the state capital, at the Airforce Base at about 7:45 a.m. That's shortly after the aircraft took off from an anti-crude oil theft operation in Rivers State. We have our correspondent Uche Okoro standing by in Rivers State to give us an update to give us the latest on this. Uche, talk to us. What is the Nigerian Air Force saying about what happened early this morning?
Right now, we are unable to gain access to the 115 Special Operations Group of the Nigerian Air Force here in Port Harcourt. It's about a stone throw from where I am standing right now. We've been unable to gain access. We've been trying for hours to gain access from the main gate of the 115 Special Operations Group, but of course, because of the incident that happened some hours ago, the Air Force hasn't been forthcoming in granting that access. But just behind me, if you look far behind me, you can actually see the part of the perimeter of the 115 Special Operations Group here, just behind me. And you can, if you look closely as well, you can see that there's an airplane just behind me, which is that of the airplane which the Chief of the Air Staff used for his arrival to Port Harcourt here to visit the base here and assess the site of that accident, and of course visit with the crew members who survived. So that's the situation. Right now, the Chief of the Air Staff is here in Port Harcourt to assess the situation, even though we haven't been able to gain access, but I know that he is right now on the base, right now to inspect the scene of that accident and meet with the personnel who survived.
Of course, thankfully, all five crew members on this particular helicopter survived this accident. Just 4 months ago, Uche, you had reported that 4 Air Force personnel died when the Mi-171 helicopter also crashed in Port Harcourt during an anti-terror operation. I know that the Chief of Air Staff is yet to brief newsmen about what his findings are, but talk to us about how this happens. You know, this is just 4 months after we heard about that incident.
As you may know, the Air Force Base here in Port Harcourt is described as the home of combat helicopters as far as the Nigerian Air Force is concerned. Now, that particular incident that happened about sometime in August, the aircraft didn't crash in Port Harcourt, as we mentioned, but that aircraft, the home base of that particular aircraft was Port Harcourt. and a number of the crew members were based in Port Harcourt. I met with a number of the bereaved families when that incident happened, and those families were based in Port Harcourt. Some of them living on the base and off the base. We met with them when shortly after that tragic incident. There, a widow to one of the crew members and her very young son there. Tragic incident 4 months ago, and on that day, just after that incident, the Chief of the Air Staff made his very first visit to Port Harcourt. That was his maiden visit since his appointment as Chief of the Air Staff. Sadly, that was the first reason for which he was coming to Port Harcourt, and this is his second visit to Port Harcourt. Sadly, it's also for another incident another accident that the Nigerian Air Force is recording. So, when he came in August, I asked him. I said, "What lessons are we expecting the Air Force to draw from this incident of August to ensure that it doesn't happen again?" And he said the Nigerian Air Force have learned their lessons to ensure that this does not happen. But of course, these accidents come with the territory. They can't be completely avoidable, even though the Nigerian Air Force does its best to avoid reoccurrences.
Of course, my apologies for mixing up the stories there. Uche Okoro will definitely get back to you to give us an update. Hopefully, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hasan Abubakar, will brief us and talk to us about the condition of the 5-member crew on board the Nigerian Air Force MI-35P.